In Lesson 6, we're going to be subtracting fractions with numbers between 1 and 2. Up until this point, we've just been subtracting fractions from fractions. But if you'll notice here, we have a mixed number. We have one whole and a fraction, and we're taking away a fraction of that. The steps will remain the same as the other addition and subtraction problems, with one minor difference which we'll go over. So the first step is that we still want to draw our rectangular fraction models. What you'll notice here is I have 3 boxes now because I actually have 2 representations of wholes here. I have my 1, which is going to be my 1 whole, so I would color in that whole thing because I have that whole part in my fraction. Okay. Then I would move over to my fraction of that number, and I would draw in my fraction. And remember, we're going to do vertical and horizontal parts, so we'll do our vertical parts for this one. My denominator is 3, so I'm going to have 3 equal sized parts in my whole. And then my numerator is 1, which means I have 1 of those 3 parts. So right here, I am showing 1 and 1/3. Then over here on my other fractional model, I'm going to show what I'm taking away, which is 1/2, and we'll draw it with horizontal lines. So I have 1/2 there, 2 parts, and I have 1 of those 2 parts as told to me from my numerator. So this part here is showing 1/2. Okay. Next, we're going to partition our units into equal fractional parts, or like denominators, because right now we have thirds and halves, and we need to make sure that those are like before we subtract them, because those are not equal sized parts. The way that we do that stays the same as what we have been doing before, except now whatever we do with these two, we also do with our whole. So I would take these 2 lines from my first fraction, and I would put them into my second fraction, and so I have 6 parts, and I have 3 of those parts, so my 1/2 is now written as 3/6. And then I would take this horizontal line and I would put it in my fraction part here, and so I have my 6 parts, and I have 2 of those 6 parts. Now, I still have my 1 whole, but I also want to break this 1 whole into those 6 equal parts by drawing the same lines. So that 1 horizontal line and the 2 vertical lines to make halves and thirds. And I have 6 parts out of the 6 parts that make my whole. So if I wanted to combine these 2 to show my number here, I would have my whole stays at 6 parts because I haven't added any more parts. I've just made duplicate wholes, and I would count how many wholes I have, or how many parts in my whole, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 2 more, 7, 8. So 1 and 1/3 can also be written as 8/6, and I am taking away that 3/6. Okay, so that can be 8/6, or I can also write it as 1 and 2/6 minus 3/6. But if you look at it, if I write it with the mixed number, I have 2 parts here, and I can't easily take away 3 from 2, so it's easier if I rewrite it as 8/6. Now we want to solve our problem. Our answer, our whole, stays the same amount of parts as our two fractions, which is 6. And because we are taking away, we're subtracting, I like to show x's. So I'm taking these 3 parts away. So I take that x, and I take it away from my original whole. I'm taking away that from my original whole, and I'm taking away that from my original whole. And you notice there's no more fractional part, so I have to go to my whole and take away one of those parts. And what I'm left with, if you're looking over here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my answer is 5 of the 6 parts. And if you're looking at the subtraction, 8 minus 3 equals 5, and my whole remains the same as 6. So 1 1/3 minus 1/2 is equal to 5, 6. We also want to take into account step 5 in can I rename to a larger fractional unit or a smaller denominator by removing any of the lines. I can't remove any of the lines because it wouldn't leave me with whole fraction pieces colored in, because this empty one would be a piece missing out of either part if I took it out. Like if I took this middle line out, I would still be missing part of this. And if I took these out, I would still be missing part of my top section. So I'm not able to take any of those lines out, so I cannot rename my fraction to a larger fractional unit or a smaller denominator.